Welcome to Youth Baseball Talk with Gabriel and Chris. Today's sponsor is the Kitchen Beast. She's a food truck, and she also does catering and private dinners. She sent us a sample of her, I think it was 3 cheese Cajun.
And that's with chicken and shrimp.
Smacking.
Dinner and talking baseball?
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, you came in on the right day.
You're rolling out the red carpet. Very good.
And today's guest is Franco Broyles of the 11U Texas Traveler.
Hey, man, so how long have you been with this organization? Is it fairly new?
So we put the plan together November 15th of 2021. So very new, very new. We had transitioned from previous experience with a couple of clubs, and just took a direction to kind of take some initiative on our own. But excited about it, and again, thank you guys for having me on the show, because I think what you guys are doing are really special as far as just the giving the educational to the youth baseball players, using this platform to, especially with the parents as well, is huge, because there's a lot of questions that come up dealing with the organizational side of it, and then also, obviously, for their sons in the game of baseball too.
For sure.
So,
well, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, and where's your team based out of?
So we're based out of Dallas, Texas. We've got a mix predominantly of Lake Highlands and Park Cities, but then we have some scattered from, Las Colinas to Sunnyvale, some more one-offs there, but really in between kind of that 75 corridor.
Okay. What age groups do you have?
So we'll have 7 teams our first spring.
Oh, wow.
We've got 1 9U, 2 10U teams, 3 11U, and 1 12U. So we'll have 7 teams.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
What got you into coaching?
I come from a family background of coaching. It was something where I had the opportunity to play for a lot of great coaches growing up. Left the game for a little while to start my professional career, and just kind of felt like I was missing on some things. Started giving private lessons and ended up having that team. And if you were going to tell me, 3 years down the road, here we are with starting our own organization, I wouldn't have pictured that. But it's just about giving back to the game. It's the opportunities to continue to grow, help our youth develop as well, and the same opportunities I had kind of growing up as well too.
For sure, man. You said you grew up with a lot of great coaches. Did you grow up playing multiple sports?
I did. So I grew up in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so there wasn't a lot of lacrosse or flag football year round. We had seasons, so we did football in the fall, basketball in the winter, baseball spring and summer, and then it was just on a rotation, constantly. Here I'm learning that you're having to bounce around maybe 4 or 5 sports, and they're all year round, so they're all a priority. But no, just those 3.
Okay, so you played those 3 growing up.
Yep.
I'm gonna take it. Baseball was your favorite? Is your favorite?
Absolutely. No game like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's your coaching style, and did you get your coaching style from your previous coaches growing up, or did you just take a bit of everything that you liked?
Yeah, I think you take a lot of your experience as a player and things that you enjoyed, and then you kind of learn from things where not necessarily disagreed, but just the style of coaches. Obviously at different levels of the game, you're going to face different obstacles or tougher conversations with your coach versus some of the youth level, as far as when you're developing early and having that role model and that person that's really willing to spend the time and help you grow in the game is what we had growing up, which somebody that I probably wouldn't played baseball as long without that too.
Yeah,
so
perfect. So talking about growing up, when did you start playing baseball?
Started playing baseball when I was probably 5.
Okay.
In just the local leagues. Ended up joining more of the select group when I was 10. I was a move-in from out of town, and I wanted to get on this top team, which wildly enough was the Arkansas Travelers. So I'm bringing some of Arkansas into Texas with what we're starting, and then from there, I got tied in with just a great group of guys. We took our youth. Coach and success we had and into our high school playing days, and ended up winning 4 state championships. And our coach, who coached us all growing up, was actually brought onto the staff to continue coaching us throughout high school too. So we always had that relationship, that trust, and as you guys know, that's half of it when you're younger.
Yeah.
That's kind of the road my son's team is going, they're all in a community, except, you know, us, we come from Dallas, but they're all located in like the Carrollton area,
Right.
Carrollton, Louisville area, but they will all fit into the same high school just about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the same situations.
Yeah.
So you said you played through youth, you played middle school. Well, I'm
yeah,
not
middle
sure.
school. I didn't really, the showcase
Uh-huh.
aspect and kind of the perfect game and area code, that was really kind of taken off a little bit more towards my junior, senior year. I played kind of our local team in those type of events with our high school team, whether we were, our freshmen and sophomores, and took that up and then transitioned more into the showcase side of it my last summer going into college just to prepare for it. We traveled on buses nationwide, went to, all the colleges, particularly in the Southwest. But no, it's a piece of me that I've kind of always taken through and really enjoyed just the early days of it. I mean, being from Arkansas and playing, you don't have the luxury from DFW. We were just, 10 kids from Fayetteville, going, and we had some success in the state. So in order to go get some more competition, we were over in Kansas City, Tulsa, Dallas, Little Rock, right? So we didn't quite have the luxury of all these teams, within 30 minutes to play constantly too. So it was a little bit different structure then.
Where did you play? Go ahead, throw your high school. Shout out your high school.
Oh, Fayetteville High School, Purple Dogs, of course. Got to.
Go.
Yeah, got to.
And
some
did
great
you play,
memories there.
Did you play collegiate?
I did. So I played at the University of Arkansas as well.
Okay,
Razorbacks.
awesome.
Yeah.
Razorbacks. How many years were you there?
I was there 3 years. I was one of the kids that came in as a hometown guy.
Yeah.
Struggled with some injuries early in college, not necessarily the burnout, but just having shoulder issues, things like that, and transitioned to a junior college. My redshirt sophomore year, had a wrist injury, and once you get injured down there, it's hard to kind of get back out. So. Had 1 year left of school and transitioned back to Dallas, where I focused on my professional career.
Okay.
So what would you say brought on those injuries? Was it lack of stretching, or what advice would you give a kid to avoid or try to avoid those injuries? I mean, I know they're inevitable.
Absolutely. And for me, it was prior to really transitioning into this coach I had long term. I was in a younger team, kind of on the border of select, and I'd pitched the pool play game, and I threw about 80, 90 pitches and came back and threw the championship game and threw another 70 pitches. And next thing I know, my arm's going numb. So I come back kind of the next season. I go to throw it, and ball doesn't come out. So I'd torn my labrum, all through it. And, of course, at 10 years old, you don't want to have that surgery that early. The doctor saying, oh, it'll grow back. Well, it was something I dealt with throughout my career, was just pain in my shoulder. And that's something now as coaches, I think it's so valuable for young kids is, my goals for them is to continue to play another year, play one season at a time, 1 year at a time, because without the health of it, that's a piece of it that kind of either alters a kid's career, or maybe their potential to get to the next level, or, they're just worn down. So that's certainly something that, as our organization grows, that, we're not going to sacrifice health for winning.
For a W.
Right.
For a ring. A $2, what is it, a $2
Exactly.
ring?
Oh, yeah. Hey, they seem like 2,000 there when those kids get them. They sure get a smile on their face.
True.
Yeah.
But no, so a lot of lessons learned just from my personal, playing that's helped me grow as a coach as well. Some things that, you just kind of wish went different, but now you have the opportunity to make an impact from the coaching side.
So did you grow up in a sports family? Dad coaching, mom coaching, brother coaching, something?
Yes, very much so. So my grandfather was the athletic director and football coach for a long time at the University of Arkansas.
Really?
And so that, I was constantly around sports, whether it was, going to the baseball games after church or Saturday football games. And, for me, it's something I always wanted to push to be a Razorback. But, I had the opportunity to be around and kind of be a youngster alongside him a lot of times, in a really, blessed childhood of just, the long talks after the game, just listening to him chat, right? I mean, so a lot of things I've learned from him, and he's a great man. Rest in peace, Papa Frank. But no, we learned a lot from him. So it's run through our family. My dad coached growing up as well. He took a back seat there once we started transitioning
Yeah.
into this newer select. But, he was the type of guy who would always take me to the field. We'd see, hit home, go to this smaller field. Okay, we're going to throw buckets till you hit home runs there.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we're going to go to the next field, right? In that type of deal. And that extra work.
Here I am taking notes. Move to bigger fields for Mark.
Exactly. They're going to keep hitting it over the same
Yeah.
one, so you want to adventure them out. But yeah, so I was blessed to have that growing up.
That's good, man. It's always good to be around different sports and play all the different sports. You have the background and the luxury of being at a collegiate, a big school, and see that atmosphere as a young kid.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty cool growing up.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's something I'm certainly grateful for. It's obviously, something that, as I've come down into Dallas, like I was, a little bit always under that shadow when I was back home. And so to come and kind of evolve and get a more sense of community in the Dallas area is something I take a lot of pride in.
So let me
as
ask
well.
this. Papa Frank did football, but you turned into baseball.
Well, he was a 3-sport All-American at Georgia
Okay.
Tech. So, I think he did his times were a little different back then. I think he did a tryout with the Yankees, and for pitching, he gave up 3 home runs and said, okay, I'm going to go back to football. So, and pursued his NFL and then coaching career. But no, he was always a baseball guy, and we were very close growing up. If he was in town or not on recruiting trips, he was at the ballpark with my family. So,
Gotcha.
I've got a lot of girl cousins. I was one of 3 boys out of 17 grandkids. So, he liked to come watch us play
there you
and be
go.
a part of it.
That's awesome.
So he's like Barry Bonds and Deion Sanders.
Yeah, man. Back then, no, he was an athlete, and it was. I was younger growing up, obviously through his later days, but no, it was always fun. Great Sunday dinners and just talking about football and all sorts of things from the games before. It was really cool.
Yeah. So do you take into account if a kid is playing multiple sports? Does that, let me change up my lineup because he's coming from a football game, or maybe he's in lacrosse or something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to have that balance, especially when you're putting together schedules. You have to understand that kids, have obligations outside of, of baseball. But for me as, a select baseball coach, I have to prioritize my team and, the organization for select baseball. So obviously we know that there's conflicts in schedule, but, if a kid's coming from a youth football game, he's probably not going to pitch that one, right? If they're not able to make the first one, right, we'll get them into the second game. So I don't necessarily take away opportunities. I try to balance that out with the parents and set those expectations. But
For sure.
there's some accountability to it, right, that teaches those things to youth kids that, hey, you may bat leadoff, but if you went to a football game, right, you may bat eighth, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's important value for them to learn as well.
And remember, it's not being punished.
Right.
It's just scheduling conflicts.
Scheduling
So
conflicts.
most kids that are watching this, or anything,
Right.
most kids will think, "Why is he mad at me?"
Right,
Coach,
right.
I just wanted to play football. It's a scheduling thing. It's not. You're not in trouble. So
Right.
let's get that.
Well, most coaches, even at the collegiate level, I've heard several times, guys who I was recruited with, really great basketball players or football players. I mean, a lot of the times you'll find that their college coaches are attending their other sports. They want to see them play multiple sports because it keeps them in shape in other ways as well. But, obviously, the older they get, just making sure the health piece is
Right.
always there, and maybe not lifting too many weights too early on those arms and
Yeah.
those things. But
It's like,
obviously
hey, don't be a linebacker if you're a pitcher,
right, yeah, let's see. Which are tough things to balance, but
Yeah.
you do what you can with just advice around that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So at the beginning of the season in fall, do you have fewer games, and in the spring?
So this year, this past fall, we played quite a bit. I had a mix where we ended up putting together 4 teams prior to our transition, which all came with the Texas Travelers. I ended up with about 16 kids in 11 youth, so we were on a little bit of a unique situation where we were having a rotational.
Yeah.
So in the fall, opens it up to be more flexible, where we take 12 kids a weekend, or they've got a soccer game or another sport, then you take 10. But everybody got 4 tournaments, so maybe it was more weekends for myself, but we kind of balanced it out with them. But it was important for our group to play knowing that we had some returners coming back, to fill those slots, and kind of continue to build the experience piece for some of that group was really key. And just getting the tournament experience, right? Maybe some of them have talent, but you can be a great, talented, natural athlete, but you still have to go play and get experience in tournaments, right?
Yeah. You gotta get the feel of the game.
Exactly.
That's totally different than rec ball.
Right.
You have one game and you get your snack and you go home.
Right.
Tournament, it'll be 100 degrees. You're about to play.
Right.
Back-to-back games.
It's all mental.
Yeah. Exactly. And getting them comfortable with it, and just the more experience, right? They're starting to play against other kids that they don't see from other areas, and that's a big piece of it too, because you say tournament and they get real nervous, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is a tournament. And then it takes a couple, and then they start to believe that they can win. You have some success, and then then from there it really starts to take off.
That's fun. So what is the most difficult part of being a youth coach?
I think the difficult aspect of it, probably, scheduling, obviously, working through, coordinating your resources with fields, but really some of the, I wouldn't say difficult, but just the educational piece with some parents, right? Like, let's not talk about AAA and AA. Let's talk about,
growth.
Where'd your son play last year? If it's a new kid coming onto our team, well, he's on a AAA team. Okay, well, where'd he bat, right? Well, he's, 7th, 8th, 9th. Okay, where'd he play? Left field. All right, well, if he was on a AA team, maybe he'd play more second base, shortstop, gets to pitch more, catch more, batting higher in the lineup to build confidence. And so some of the tougher conversations around that, right? Like not rushing straight into it just because it's a class, right? I mean, there's plenty of talent at AA and AAA around here at both levels and into the majors. You want to continue when that team is ready to elevate them. But I think there's a situation where maybe there's some elevation too early. And I think it's important for kids to succeed in this game to see, what their hard work pays off, and then you kind of get a group of kids who have experience and then elevate up, right? Because you could have all the talent, but without experience, you can't step into a AAA tournament or a majors tournament around here and expect to perform. It doesn't matter. No. So it's just kind of setting those type of expectations, having those conversations, which, we get great feedback from parents because a lot of the times, that they don't understand that piece, right? So I think that's really important, and really focusing on, hey, let's build your son up with confidence, develop him. Then, whether he starts in AA in our organization or AAA, the goal is to always elevate, right? But it's just depending on that timing.
Yeah.
So how does your training work? Do you have team practices, or do you have a specialized, like, hey, all my pitchers come in on this day, you're going to be an outfielder, can y'all come in on this day, or y'all do these certain workouts and activities?
So we, for example, with our group, so we've got three 11U teams. I've got one team really full of returners that need a little bit more of that experience piece, that I know a lot about that roster. And then we've had, I think we had a little over 50 11-year-olds try out for our group this year. So we've got another about 7 or 8 that I've had from the beginning when I started coaching this team 3 years ago. But we've added 12 new kids. And so, I think with what we're doing a little bit differently is, and this is another conversation you have to have with the parents, to just kind of trust the roster alignment, right? So out of these 20 kids, I've got 8 lefties. Well, it doesn't matter if all 8 players are the best if they're all lefties, right? Because it's not only just talent, it's positioning. And I think that's something that we do different from other organizations. We like to have someone oversee each age group prior to just assigning directly to a roster, and really have the coach get to know their player, because what do you really learn from a tryout other than, are they coachable, basic mechanics, those types of things. So we're on our 4th practice, and we've had this group together. We train the, outfielders just as much as we train the infielders, and vice versa, work on pitchers and catchers. We had our first scrimmage last Sunday, which was great to just get some live looks and arms as well. But here early, we're all focused on defense. If we can throw strikes and play good defense, we got a chance.
The bats will come.
Right.
You're absolutely right. The bats will come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
So what tournaments are y'all looking forward to?
We're piecing out our schedule right now. We've got me specifically kind of overseeing the 11U group, so balancing that out. But we'll play Obviously, some Baseball Nation events, NCS. Looking at joining some more of the 5-tool events as well. I really like their structure of, how they follow some of the pitching guidelines as well. So we're going to try to also, with what we're doing in Dallas, is create more of a select baseball opportunities for tournaments locally too. I mean, oftentimes we're traveling out to McKinney or Arlington, which are great events, but we'd like to build a little bit more local presence.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great, please.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and what that does in the long term, our oldest team's 12, and, oftentimes these kids are getting 14, 15 and playing in high schools in Dallas, but then, they're going to play on teams in Frisco, McKinney, right? So if we can establish a little bit, more Dallas-based teams where there's plenty of kids, right, and kind of keep kids more at home with playing opportunities as well, I think that gives us a good chance to elevate that.
Good, man. I get tired of driving to McKinney. I know you do too.
Right. What fields are you looking into, or have you?
Yep. So we have a recent partnership with the Village Dallas. It's a new development local to off Greenville Avenue in 75. I mean, it's used to be old residential league, and they've built an incredible field that we'll play up to 14U on. We've got a retractable fence for
nice.
200 feet, and bring a portable mound on there, and so we're excited about the opportunity with them. And then we have several high schools. A few of our coaches are local high school coaches that have allowed resources for our teams to practice, but also allocate and some of those private schools, give them exposure to their facilities for kids who are interested in going that route as well. So there's some value for them on both sides.
So we're going to do some tournaments out there, or some scrimmages first?
Absolutely. So we'll start with some tournaments, and that's a big piece of it. Is a lot of teams typically play what they know and or what they did last year, and I think this gives some new opportunities to play. Something more in Dallas, maybe locally to your team, or hey, maybe we'll just take a look at this event, see how we like it, and then obviously it grows, right? You put on a good experience, good tournament, but it's getting that exposure out there, and which takes a little time.
You're at the right place.
That's right. That's right.
We'll get that schedule of some of your tournaments, and Chris and I, since that's kind of my neighborhood. Chris is here locally, but I'm more in Dallas, that area.
So they're actually posted currently through NCS right now.
NCS.
So a lot of them are currently one-day tournaments. We like the structure of that until we can continue to add some more field resources. But similar to like a Mavs ballpark downtown, they run one age group, that type of situation. You get 8 teams and run the pool play, or just one pool play game and then into single elimination.
Yeah.
Perfect, man. Are y'all planning to do any World Series tournaments?
We are. So we're looking at that right now. We've qualified for a couple from our fall season, which we were able to transition some of that over with the new organization. So thank you USSSA for that as well, because I know those boys like to look at the points. But
nice.
No, it just kind of depends on logistics. We're looking at doing a fundraiser for the organization, whether it be a local World Series event or travel. For me,
talk about a local World Series. I'm going to shout them out because it was so good last year. Go to the PAC World Series.
The PAC, Euless. We've played there. Great event.
Yeah.
Tim does an awesome job. We've had some good experiences out there too.
So they allowed us to go. I don't know if you saw, but we were out there at the Rangers. What's it called? Globe Life.
Globe Life.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're out there
awesome.
And
they plan to do it again at the Texas Rangers Stadium.
Yeah. So check it out. It's a great event. It was so much fun for all the kids. Awesome. You didn't see one sad, angry kid.
Love that.
No matter.
That's what it's about.
No matter if they won a race or didn't lose, they were so happy because they were there.
Right.
On the big league field.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's just a great experience for the kids. So if you could do a World Series, that's one to look at.
Now, how did they structure that as far as with Globe Life? Like, how did that work?
I have no idea.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Tim worked his magic.
Exactly. He worked his magic.
Yeah. So they're just going to be there for one day. They're going to do all their
skills
competition.
Right. Like I said, back to kind of what I touched on. I mean, we were, as a group at 10, 11, 12, we were living in hotels. We'd go stay in Tulsa, play a World Series. I remember we won a Majors USSSA World Series, we were 13, and we had been there for a week. And our coach was like, "You guys want to stay next week for the Super Series?" And of course, us kids were like, "Yeah, let's do it." Our parents are like, "No, let's go out on a win here." Like,
Coach, are you paying?
right, they've been
That's another $2,000,
right,
Coach.
Exactly. I mean, I'm talking 7 days in a hotel,
Yeah.
and so that's something I remember as a youth player. Like some of the best memories, just playing card games or bringing in your
Yeah.
PlayStations after the game, and sometimes we didn't play well. Our coach would call us the AC boys. We just want to sit in the air conditioning and play video games. But no, I mean, I think it's important to give kids opportunities to travel to play tournament, whether it's not too far, maybe Waco, Houston, Austin. So go play some teams in other areas.
Yeah, there's a lot of good tournaments. Going out, the Oklahoma-Texas shootout, that's a cool one. A lot of teams actually do that.
Right.
I think there are actually some teams from Arkansas that go.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't be
Express,
surprised.
are you
The
familiar
Express.
with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They were around when I played. That deal's kind of elevated more over time. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't really have, like, organizations when I played. I mean, we
Gotcha.
just had one team. And then DBAT started getting put in up there, and then they started to kind of grow that out,
Nice.
off indoors. But, my showcase team, we're the Midwest Nationals out of Springfield, and they, predominantly focused high school and started growing their youth presence. And I think there was some partnership with those relationships. But
Yeah, I mean, it's just cool seeing, Mark. If you hear me say Mark, that's my son.
Yeah.
He, it's cool, and he likes it because he gets to play these teams from all over the
Oh,
place.
it's awesome.
And, none of his friends play baseball.
Mhm.
And if they do, it's locally here in Farmers Branch. I think, Chris, honestly, I think he's the only one who plays travel baseball and gets out there.
Well, and that's a big piece of it, too. I mean, this year we've expanded from our first team predominantly Lake Highlands, a few Park Cities kids, and now with what we're doing with the new organization, I think it's so important with how much this game gives you relationship wise. I mean, I got married 2 years ago. I look at my groomsmen, and it's somebody I played at some portion of my life, college, high school, and in youth, in baseball, and Fayetteville being a little different, smaller. I knew different elementaries, but now parents tend to get into that trend with I want to play with my neighborhood and my community, but after that couple of weeks, it's fun to see the boys come together. Right now I've got a bunch of nervous boys because everybody knows at least one kid kind of came together, but here we're on our third practice, and it was real attentive and quiet the first two, and now it's opening up, right? And so building that and getting them exposure at a young age, because as you guys know, it's hard to compete too when you've got bunch of kids from the same neighborhood. It's rare to go out and have a lot of success when you're facing teams with kids not only from different elementaries but different cities
all
and towns.
over the place.
I mean,
right.
And it only gets larger as they get older. So I think it prepares them more for the high school level too.
Yeah, for sure. It's just it's a fun road. You know?
Right.
It's a crazy one, but fun.
Absolutely.
So being a new team, how are you creating team chemistry between the kids? Just like you said, I mean.
Well, it takes time, especially for the newer boys on the team to understand the way we practice, the expectations when you show up to practice. We don't just go out there and condition right off the bat, right, or things like that. Like, you want them to start to develop that trust with you. And I think it's, a great opportunity with having returners and a lot of new players coming in together, and a lot who we've competed against that have been interested in joining. But, my biggest thing I'm preaching this year to kids is, as you get into 11U, kids are starting to throw the ball harder. They're starting to get a little more physically gifted in other areas, and the game becomes more natural to them. But the biggest thing we're focusing on is the fear aspect of the game. If we can address the fear, when we get in the box or, when a hard hit ball's, coming at us, right? If we can face that fearless, we're going to be much more competitive as a group. We know that when Johnny comes in throwing 70 and we're warming up, we've got some quiet kids, but it takes one kid to get in there, get tough, get a knock. And so addressing that, I think, with youth baseball players is key, because what's the number one reason why kids quit baseball? They're scared of the ball.
Yep.
Right? So if you can really educate that, that pitcher's goal is never to hit you, because you get to go on first, then you steal second, you steal third, you probably score, right? But this is where they're trying to throw it. expect it there and be prepared for it, right? So that to me is really what we're focusing on this year, because as a coach, I'd rather have 11 guys who are fearless and never played versus 11 guys who've played 3 years and still scared.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Still stepping out the box.
right. They their talents are never really showcased. When they're battling the fear. So I think if you talk about that early, it helps their growth.
That's awesome, man. So this will probably be the last question before we wrap up.
Sure.
Do you have any camps going on?
We do. So
pretty soon?
we'll have spring pitching clinics. We've got several guys, ex-college players, some pros, and high school guys who played high school coaches who played collegiately. And we'll start. Now that our teams are logistically set up, we've got our uniforms in, caps. We feel really good about that because the uniform business obviously is something that I'm new to from the organization side, but with the logistics challenges, things like that, we're ready to play, next weekend, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
But no, we
is it an open camp y'all be doing?
We'll do an open camp, and it'll predominantly be, any age or any level.
Okay.
We'll typically go, 7s and 9s, and then 10s to 12s and on up from there.
Awesome. Let us know. We'll be out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yes, I appreciate you guys having me on again. I think what you guys are doing are really special, and we're proud to be a part of it as well, being with the Texas Travelers.
Awesome,
too.
man.
All right,
Thanks for
thanks.
coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there anything else you'd like to add, or?
Swing hard, throw it hard. Coaches, don't want to see you aim it. Okay, go up there. That's how you learn the game. Make mistakes. Don't be scared. All right, talk to your coaches. They're there to help support you. So
Awesome.
that's all I got.
Well, thanks for coming out,
Thanks for
man.
coming out,
Absolutely,
Coach
man.
Franco.
We look forward to seeing y'all's field.
Absolutely, yeah. Come on to the village. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks.
enjoy your plate.
I know. I'm going back to it. That's for sure. Thank you, guys.
Hey, you're welcome.